Into the iris.
What a fantastic day. Welcome, everybody. It's the Watchpoint Postshow. We're coming at you live from a very late night here at the Blizzard Arena, and it was a good one. I'm your host, Chris Puckett. I'm joined at the desk tonight. We've got a very tired Zoe, Wolf, and Sideshow, but that game, it woke me back up. We went to 5 with the shot going up against the Hunters.
Yeah, I feel like every game today just went the distance, or at least that's how I remember.
We got 14 maps out of 15.
Yeah, it was crazy. And actually, this is one of Shock's most inconsistent stages. Coming off the stage 2 victory and then losing to Outlaws and now Chungu.
Well, okay, come on,
crazy.
calm down. Like, they lost 2 games, all right?
well,
like, calling them inconsistent.
Oh, they lost 0 last stage.
I think
okay.
there's a common theme here between the 2 teams that were back-to-back finalists. Both of them are really struggling in this meta. Are they the worst team this stage? No, but they don't look as clean as you would expect from finalists, right, and champions. So, I mean, it's not a shock they lose, no pun intended, if they can't play against this meta well. They seem a little bit lost.
Wolf, you just gave the disclaimer, so let me put you on the hot seat right now. Will we see the 3rd repeat of Shock versus Vancouver Titans in the finals of Stage 3?
Absolutely not.
Not happening.
I don't think so.
Not happening. You heard it here first. Let's jump into the action as we get this show rolling right now with map number 3 of the Hunters going up against the Shock. The Shock, the heavy favorite, but the Hunters were able to take map 1 in control before the Shock took Volskaya. That set up Ike involved, and a whole lot of Reinhardt play coming out of both teams.
Man.
Among showing he can hang with Super tonight.
Again, he did it again. He already did it when he played against Bumper. I will never get over that game. And he did it again against Super, another absolute fantastic main tank. And it's not like Super had a bad game. In fact, Super had a pretty darn good game still, even though he did die a lot towards the end. His Earth Shadow efficiency was through the roof. I think he averaged at 1.5, which is incredible high.
That one's fantastic. It's the boop from Moth that sets it up, a 5k Shadow from Super. And that's the kind of stuff that the Shock are excellent at. But Chengdu, with this Sombra, are so potent on the offense. They get the EMP, they wipe with it, they continue moving forward. It's a dangerous comp to go up against.
I think for me, one of the biggest standouts for the Shock was that they continue to run Rascal on the Batiste. And this is something that isn't really proven yet. We haven't really seen that many teams run it. It's Shock that's running it more than anyone else. And we know Rascal's probably the best Batiste player in the league. But is it working consistently enough against the Sombra Goats right now and these Hammond compositions? I don't know.
Dorado looked wonderful.
No.
It certainly did, and Dorado, I think, works very well for the Batiste because there's a lot of high ground on point A that you can kind of jump around and drop down onto, and there's great angles for it. And I'm thinking the thought process is you've got a huge amount of healing as well, whereas the Brig, you have to stand close with your team, can't take off angles, but like Wolf says, it's fairly...
It's hard to say,
really
right?
Proven.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing you're also missing with Brig is burst heals on a target at any location, so... I think that's sometimes what's hard when you're, especially the Zarya, is just missing that burst heal when you're in trouble, when you're caught out.
My biggest takeaway of this match, though, is that San Francisco Shock lost both of the control maps to Chengdu. And I think that's a huge difference compared to where you would normally expect San Francisco to excel. is on these kind of neutral engagements, and they struggled. It was Chengdu taking the lead on a bunch of the control segments and finding it very hard to re-push.
Chengdu played really, really well. I just really love to see how cohesive they played. They followed up on all the big ults in all the right ways. It was really, really good target calling we saw from the Hunters there, and from the Shock, it looked a little bit more messy, honestly.
I have to give Hex some props. He's not on the show tonight, but Hex, I know you're watching at home, buddy. He called it from week 1. Watch the Hunters this year. They went through a little bit of a downward slope in stage 2. Now they're in the top 11. If we ended the season right now, they would be in our 12-team playoffs at the end of the year. But let's keep the show moving. We got to talk about a team that is on the bubble. It was the Paris Eternal who matched up against the Dynasty today. The Dynasty looking good for stage 3. Paris Eternal, not so much. They needed a win. It was their 7th match of stage 3, and it didn't go as planned. The Dynasty without Fissure on the team anymore. Didn't look like they needed him today.
No, I mean, the thing about this series is the Dynasty came out with a lot of different compositions. They were running a lot of, basically what we were seeing on a lot of their attacks was they would swap composition after scouting that Paris Eternal was just going for the Somber Goats composition. We'd see Michelle go over to the Pharah, and they were basically running counter comps. Seoul has been doing so well by moving their roster around repeatedly, because they're finding these compositions that excel versus their opponent's strengths. And for the Eternal, I think this is another one of those days where you don't expect to beat Seoul. You're coming off a tough loss. You start off decent in the first 2 maps. They're not super one-sided, but then by map 3 and 4, you're just out of steam. And in map 4, they barely turned it back around, but I just think this is a momentum problem for a team that was so close to playoffs, and now it's just out of reach.
It's very interesting as well. I've been asking the Seoul Dynasty to kind of focus on a core of 6 players. And throughout this match, they have done. They've focused, at least for this game, on a core of 6. And maybe that'll be the future.
You wanted to
see. It wasn't the 6 that I recommended, true, Zoe. But it's still a good 6. I mean, it's difficult to go wrong with the Seoul roster. Yeah. But what's most interesting to me is the comp they're playing at the top here. You know that Michelle can play the Sombra, and you know that Fitz is an excellent Zarya. But instead, they kind of opt into switching those heroes around, which is very strange. Yeah, they must believe that Fitz is a lot better than Michelle, despite what we've seen.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what's going on with that. But you also have Fleta, who can play Pharah, so sometimes you have some extra flexibility there because both Michelle and Fleta can play Pharah. And you know that Fleta is the best Hanzo player on this roster. Illicit, you could make an argument for, but I think Fleta has proven he's got the experience. So if you keep winning with this roster and you keep getting to run these Hanzo, Pharah compositions, crushing with them, Sombra you've got there, why change the roster? Why pull subs out when Paris is just running the same thing every time?
Well,
just
speaking of them. Paris, I do want to give them props. If you're a Paris fan, you have to be excited that the Eternal never gave up in this series. They fought for every map going into that game 4. It's not looking great right now, but they're not out of the playoffs quite yet. They could make a comeback later on in the season. But we got to talk about the main tanks in this one, right? The big news last night was that Fissure retired. He's no longer playing competitive Overwatch. He's not a member of the Overwatch League for the Seoul Dynasty. And that meant that we were going to see Marvel on the main tank role almost all the time. How did Marvel fare in your eyes today, Wolf?
I mean, I
Great
feel like...
Junkrat, first and foremost.
Yeah, he did play the Junkrat. Good point, Zoe. I've always kind of felt that his more passive style has been better for Seoul overall throughout this season. And I've been a big fan of his play. I think it's warranted that he was fielded more than Fissure here at the end. My big question is... Yeah,
there he is on the Junkrat.
Well, it's a counter comp to what they were running with the Mei, as he explained in his post-game interview. Yeah. I think they're going to be fine with Marvel, but my big question is, who do they get next? Because we know that they want to have a 12-man roster. They had 2 main tanks. Fissure's gone. I think they will sign a new main tank before the signing window ends. I think they will pick someone up, but just in case for the rest of the season.
They got to be pretty rapid with that as well, but maybe they've got stuff in the works. You never know, like when Fissure told his team that he wanted to retire as well, they might already have somebody in the works there. But I think it's, for Marvel, it's a great opportunity to step up, and and this entire season has been him building up. Here's how he compares to Fissure over the course of this entire season. On the Reinhardt in particular, we tend to think of him as a more passive version of Fissure's big playmaking potential, but his stats are basically the same the whole way down, which I think just speaks to the fact that they're consistent as a team.
Yeah, I think the charge kills here is from their recent performances, and why they've been dominant the last few times is because he waits defensively, charges, and that's why he has that lead over Fissure.
Zoe and I were watching the games downstairs, and we mentioned, you know, some of his plays also can't be measured in stats. He had a lot of good charges, a lot of counters that helped keep Seoul in this game and on top of the Eternal in that one. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we got to talk about another big series. It was the up-and-coming Valiant going up against the number 4 team in the league, the Hangzhou Spark. And with the distance, we'll tell you how after this.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back to the party. Let's keep this one going as we take a look at the Spark versus the Valiant. The Valiant coming off their big win against Vancouver. Getting tested today, though, against Godspeed and the Spark. Sorry, what did we see on Ilios?
Well, plenty of different things, to be honest with you. First and foremost, I do think that Spark was very well prepared. I think they tried everything they could to really kind of shut Shax down. Karif also didn't land quite as many sleep darts as we saw previously. However, throughout the entirety of the series, he hit a lot of really fantastic bionades, which really touched it out for the Valiant overall in a lot of scenarios.
Is it unfair to say that this round was where Valiant lost the series?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even sure that it would be, because they went up 99-0, lost it, and they end up going to 5 and losing that control point. I mean, if that one had gone differently, they would have won this series, which is kind of insane that it was this close, but each map was fairly one-sided. This was a total shutout by the Valiant, and then Hollywood going afterwards was fairly a total shutout for the Spark.
I think he tweeted something out, which is, it couldn't be more accurate, which is this series was just so very map-dependent for both of those teams.
I would say if you are a fan of agilities, go back and watch his Volskaya game. One of the best individual performances I've seen out of him. Good to see him on the far and just the DPS heroes today. But overall, watching the Valiant on Hollywood, what's their issue? Because this seemed to be all Spark.
I would say it comes back to Zoe's point that she mentioned there, where it's very map dependent. The idea of the Valiant is, with Shax in the lineup, they can't play traditional goats. So they want to play a bunch of DPS to force Spark off the goats. And on Hollywood, you really can't get it in. It's too long. Point B offers too many opportunities for you to lose one of those low-health DPS players.
We did see the Valiant, though, bounce back as we went to map 4 Dorado. They took us all the way to the game 5.
Yeah, and I just want to say something off the side here. Sideshow, what was your prediction going into this series at the beginning of the day?
My prediction was that LA Valiant had about a 55 to 60% chance of winning this game, so it didn't quite happen. But, you know, I would say that both of these teams were incredibly even over the course of the series.
Yeah,
I think they have totally contrasting styles.
Well, were your predictions perfect today? Chengdu. No, they were not.
No, I did not. No, I did not.
I don't think anyone could pick today perfectly. Very entertaining match overall, and a lot of people in their power rankings had the Valiant over the Spark after the Vancouver match. Do you think it's safe to say that the Valiant should move back down in most people's rankings?
I think the Valiant are still a team that's pretty dangerous for a lot of the league. I mean, the Spark have made enormous leaps and bounds, and the reason that I thought they wouldn't win today is because I thought Valiant would be able to push them far outside their comfort zone. Not necessarily because I think Valiant are a just hands-down better team. So, yeah, for me, Valiant are still on the up and up. They've still got to prove themselves, but they're a great team.
Josh, I know you're a big fan of the Valiant, including their content. Why don't you lead us to one of my favorite segments? What do we got coming up next?
Yeah, we took this one straight from Custer. It's his favorite segment. It's called You Hate to See It.
It's time. I'm ready.
It's the greatest. All right, so the segment that we're going to break down is, of course, just a bit of clowning on the LA Valiant. It was from their final moment when they played against Spark. Let's take it out. Let's check it out. You hate to see it. You don't want to rest your eyeballs upon it. Whatever you want to call the segment, here it is. So here's this fantastic little moment where Fact Fiction, here's what's going to happen. He wanders over to this panel, and this panel's really important because if you interact with it, I don't know whether you guys realize this, but you use your ult. So,
Oh, yeah.
So let's watch. He goes over,
Yep,
he
you just-
checks out the panel,
Oh, yeah.
and he uses his ult. It's kind of strange. It's really weird. I'll wind it back to the beginning for you, and you'll see how it played out. He wanders over, and he's like, oh, check out this on the wall. Good
Oh, the fact finger.
He doesn't like that panel.
And when
Black finger.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was
Very
fantastic.
nice.
And when I was watching this, I was like, "Oh, this is fantastic! They're trying to shatter a Sombra or something." I was like, "No, it's just a classic fat finger."
But
The Spark is just
imagine
running
there would
goat.
have been a Sombra.
And here is the tweet coming from Russell Campbell, a.k.a. Fact Fiction. GG's Fat Finger, map 5. GG's Hangzhou Spark, very strong team. He knew it. He knew in that moment they screwed up big. It was the game 5. That's where you set the momentum in the round. And the rest of your team has just got to be looking at you like, come on, man.
I think he needs to change his name to like Footfinger instead of Fat Fiction. Just take all the vowels out of that, and that can be his name from now on.
I mean, players are human. People make mistakes.
Of course.
I feel like, you know, we do see stuff like this happen a lot. We saw BQB fall off the side. Everyone was jumping on him. Might have been the wrecking ball that knocked him off. I think we got to give him some
No,
I don't think it
No,
really
we
made a
actually-
difference either. No, Zoe reviewed the evidence. It was not the
I
wrecking ball.
tried, trust me.
Zoe and I have never fat fingered any of our alts or used them improperly throughout our ranked games. Well, despite the loss, the Valiant season playoff hopes are still alive, and so is their chance to make it to Philly for our grand finals. That's right. Make sure you go to overwatchleague.com right now. It's down here, and get your tickets to join us live at the Wells Fargo Center. That's where it's all going down in Philadelphia, September 29th. You don't want to miss it. They're going to sell out, so get them while you can. We're going to a quick break. When we come back, it's the most over-the-top moments of the day. It's the best part of the show. Don't miss it. We'll be right back.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Check, mic check.
Hello, testing,
Oh,
testing.
it's too loud now.
How about now?
Oh, it's worse.
Fuck, is it too loud? You're always too loud. Like, I've never ever played with you and you're not being too loud.
Yeah, true.
Just my hands are like sticky. Can I get some hand sanitizer?
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
like
that's
to.
I'm gonna talk like this.
Yeah, honest to God, would I prefer at this point.
Wake bubble, wake bubble.
Even that's too loud.
Sorry.
Whoa, whoa. You have to do that. Like, is that something you have to do?
I mean, yeah.
Nice! Nice! Right!
All together now. I'm gonna change my spray. I think that's important right now.
Oh, a lot of people. 1,000.
1,000 people.
Yeah.
They're all for you, Violet.
For me?
Yeah, for you.
Nice. My birthday tomorrow. We win, please.
Your birthday tomorrow?
Yeah. Okay, we lose.
I'm not okay.
On the left side or the right side, Brady?
Okay.
No, that was a question.
Hey, let's go. He took his shoes off. And keep them off. If you put them on, we lose.
Last time you put them on, we lost. Then again, we lost every time.
1, 2, 3.
Fighting!
Happy birthday.
Definitely some incredible moments right there, but let's check out the most over-the-top moments of the day. Number 5, YXL. There goes the trance. But no one's in the EMP range. Shock perfectly dodged this one to stay alive on Volskaya before
Violet's
later
spacing
tying it up.
there is so nice. I mean, look at how he just barely gets on the edge. He knows the range. He knows the radius.
Can we quickly congratulate whoever wrote that lower third, though?
Well done, Bennett. Well done. All right, let's take a look at number 4. It's Agility, showing multiple DPS heroes today, including Miss Hanzo.
This might have been my favorite play of the entire day. I mean, watching Agilities be able to play heroes that he's generally really incredible at makes such a difference for the Valiant.
It really does, and he carried that map for them, like, hands down.
Oh yeah, played that one perfectly. Charges the healers and gets it done at number 3 today. Wolf, it's Rhea. Showing some diva skills.
Yeah. Rhea is super underrated on Diva right now. I think he could be, in terms of positioning, top 3 in my mind right now.
Wow.
In terms of Diva play.
I think his bots are actually number 1, honestly. Like, I don't think any other diva in this current meta actually manages to get that many picks.
I mean, he's also just doing such a great job of flanking. I mean,
Number 2s. Who had the fatter shatter, Among or Super? Let's take a look at this one. First, it's Among.
6-man.
Super a little bit later. Doesn't get all 6, but he sure makes his 5-man look great.
Disgraceful.
Yep, he misses Yveltal, so you gotta give Eamon the win.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uzi on the
that's
wall.
why they won the series.
No, honestly, it was great to see these teams work together. Among hitting that one from inside the grab. Super getting a little help from Moth, bumping the Ryan out of the way. But your number 1 moment of the day, it's Mr. X standing at the same height as 7-foot Channing Frye until he zoomed out. And that's on a ladder.
That one actually surprised me because I was expecting a box and then it was a ladder, so that was like all sorts of kind of thoughtful.
you need there's no box big enough for that, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
He needs a ladder.
Oh my goodness. I'm looking at him to come down for the little hug at the end.
right?
That was definitely the highlight of my day. There you have it, guys. Those are the most over-the-top moments, and it's only Thursday. We got 3 more days coming your way here before we head to Atlanta next week. But for now, we got to check in with our Twitch cheer leaderboard. And speaking of Atlanta, they are still the reigning cheer bits champions. We'll see. Can they earn $5 million as we go to their hometown? Can it happen by the end of next week?
Who knows?
Can it be done?
Keeps me riveted every single week, this cheerbit
We'll have
leaderboard.
to find out.
Who
guys.
knows?
We'll have to find out. And the real question is, which individuals are going to pop off? We expect Shelby to be there. Pippin DePalm at number 2 spot. Maybe the Cobra 93 Stang is going to climb up past 11,000 bits. All we need, guys, is about 340,000 more bits for Atlanta Reign.
That's not bad. That's a tidy little sum of bits.
I'm going full Bren after midnight here in LA. Guys, make sure you get not only your bits, but also your Overwatch League All Access Pass. We still got a whole another stage to go in more games, not only this week, but next week. And tonight, we got some bonus content for you. We got a Q&A with Moth from the San Francisco Shock exclusively on twitch.tv. But we're not done yet here, folks. After a quick break, we'll give you a peek at what exactly our analysts think is going to go down tomorrow with some big games coming your way. We'll be right back. The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile.
Run away, you can dodge rockets, and they're gonna put agilities on the fire gun. I love this.
Yeah, agility's
Defensive aura. Oh no!
Or you're just gonna get picked immediately now.
Supercharger here for the fuel.
Using ultimates just to survive. That's not what Dallas Steel want to be doing. Don't tell how long. KM makes
I told you!
Elsa just drops the bomb in.
The armor to wear out. Gonna back around the corner.
Jellon, let's go. Trying to
Nice hack on the bumper.
EMP now being used. Bumper just trying to hide in that little corner there with Upsell going down. The self-destruct might just be a pressure relief foul. Freeze! Jadu comes up with the answer, and it's Emong. Emong and Evil Tile to go down there.
Zuma's now out of mech as well. And they're stalling this out big time. A huge kill! And now Mavis got transcended. Baby gets a second and a third!
Where does this happen? Where does this come from?
20 seconds left on the clock. Shanghai, look at all the check marks they've got working on it. Dang in the back line.
Oh, Kareem! Clutch sleep, making all the difference. Shanghai Dragons down. He cancels out the EMP. Now it's a Hail Mary attempt from the Shanghai Dragons. They get the shatter in. But the Valiant pouring on the pressure. There's the grenade.
Taking a look ahead to tomorrow, we got some playoff teams facing off. A little bit later, you will see Houston looking to bounce back against the Justice. Toronto will be going up against our purple LA team, but we're kicking things off with the Valiant once again, back-to-back days, but they'll be going up against our 2018 reigning champs in the London Spitfire. So I gotta ask you all, which match are you most fired up for, Zoe? Not excited. What are you fired up for tomorrow?
Fired up for? Well, don't tell my face, but I'm really excited for Houston Outlaws tomorrow. I want to see if they can redeem themselves.
Powerful energy to close the show. Well done.
I got it all.
I like that. I like that. We'll see if they can redeem themselves. What about you, Mr. Wolf?
I'm looking at London Spitfire. I mean, last time they played against New York, we had some crazy DPS compositions. New York's play style almost exactly the same as Valiant's right now. So that could be a great series where we get to see a lot of Fury playing Pharah, for example, London's flexibility. So that series in particular should be pretty close, and I think we're going to see a lot of shades of that New York series that we saw just last week.
Yeah, I definitely think we're going to see more DPS in that match as well. And that's why I'm most interested to see that game as well and see whether the LA Valiant can rebound. It was an incredibly close loss today against the Spark. Spitfire have generally been a bit of a weaker team, but they play a lot of DPS compositions, which is going to take things in a wildly different direction. So I'm interested to see whether LA Valiant can put up the, kind of go toe-to-toe with some of the best DPS players in the league. Agilities versus Profit on the Hanzo. I want to see it happen.
It's going to get weird tomorrow. I was going to ask you the follow-up. Who is the most important DPS player to watch? Is it KSF? Is it going to be Shax? Is it going to be Agilities? Who are we watching tomorrow, Josh?
I don't know. Probably Profit is the most important person to watch because London relies so much on him, whereas Valiant, kind of anyone can pop off with those three.
There you go. I tried to stretch it for midnight, but I'm tapping out right now. Thank you all for watching. The pre-show kicks off tomorrow. It's 5 o'clock Pacific. Set your alarm. Call your grandma, your ma, your dad. Get everyone to tune in. It's going to be a party. We'll see you then.